What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. In today's video, I want to talk about why the Atlanta Falcons should take K'Lavon Chaisson with our number 16 pick. But as always, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll know when I've done Atlanta Falcons content. Hit that like button. I appreciate all of you guys who have recently subscribed to the channel. We did hit 300 subscribers. I believe we're at like 310 subscribers. So I thank you guys for allowing me to hit another milestone. Let's continue to grow this thing and make this one of the biggest Atlanta Falcons channels out there. Definitely let's get to our goal of 1,000 subscribers. And then I'm going to do a giveaway once we hit our milestone of 1,000 subscribers. But I appreciate all of you guys for continuing to share out this content. If you would like to follow your boy on Twitter, you can follow me at JewTalkSports. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. So I do believe that the Falcons should take K'Lavon Chaisson at with the number 16 pick in this upcoming NFL draft. And I'm going to give you some different reasons why I would select K'Lavon Chaisson. Number one, he's a very versatile player. He's not only a player that can play the defensive end position, but he also plays like the outside linebacker where he can drop into coverage. And he can actually play solid man-to-man coverage against running backs and against tight ends. And he also would be a key player that we could use with spying on quarterbacks, because we face a lot of mobile quarterbacks nowadays in the NFL with Russell Wilsons of the world and Kyler Murray's of the world, Cam Newton's of the world, all these guys that can scramble, Teddy Bridgewater. It's a lot of different guys in the league now at the quarterback position that can scramble. So you have to have that chess piece. You can move around the chessboard that can do multiple things. So that was one thing that I think that Vic Beasley did really well when they used him in the second half of last season. I think the Falcons did a good job of using Vic Beasley as that hybrid linebacker / defensive end or outside linebacker. And I think that K'Lavon Chaisson would be the perfect fit for our team. I think he'll be the perfect player to bring in to fill that Vic Beasley role, because to me, Dante Fowler is not a guy that you really want to drop into coverage. He's like a pure defensive end or pure outside linebacker, and he's mainly a guy that puts his hand in the dirt or comes up in that 2-point stance and comes off the edge. He's not really a player that you want to drop into coverage or allow him to play man-to-man coverage down the field or run down the field with running backs. But K'Lavon Chaisson is one of those guys that can cover tight ends, can cover running backs out of the backfield. He also is very good at setting the edge. I watched some tape of K'Lavon Chaisson recently, and I watched him, how well he set the edge. He's a very cerebral player, very smart, and he's a great leader. I was reading on AtlantaFalcons.com how they were talking about his leadership, and they were talking about highlighting him as one of the players that the Falcons are interested in. And I also watched a lot of different videos from LSU, and they talked about him wearing at number 18. And that goes to like the player that has the highest character, and usually goes to one of the leaders of the defense. And when he was over at LSU last season, he was one of the leaders of that defense. If you go back to the SEC championship game, I think it was against Georgia, they showed him on a sideline talking to the players, telling the players to play smart and to use their heads. So he's an alpha dog, and I think the Atlanta Falcons definitely need another alpha dog on the defense. You can never have enough alpha dogs on your defense. So I think that K'Lavon Chaisson is not only a player that's smart, but he has great leadership, and he's a very fast player, very explosive. And if you know anything about Dan Quinn, he loves players that's very explosive and very versatile that can do multiple things. So K'Lavon Chaisson can line up as a traditional linebacker. He can line up with his hands in the dirt. He can line up in that 2-point stance and come off the edge. But I would say his number one attribute is his speed and his quickness. The nickname that I gave him, and because I seen him on Twitter, I follow him on Twitter, and it looked like he had an image or emoji of a fox. So I start calling him Swiper the Fox. is the nickname that I gave him. I've been watching a lot of tape on him. You guys know, if you've been watching my videos, that I'm really big on K'Lavon Chaisson, and I think he could be a special player for this team. Like I said, he has a very quick first step, and he plays with a very high motor. And those are his number one attributes: is his effort, that he never gives up on plays, and his speed and athleticism. He's very quick, very tall, long arms, can bat down passes, can cover, like I said, running backs out of the backfield, up the seam, like on a wheel route. He'll be able to cover players on wheel routes. As you know, we do face Christian McCaffrey in our division. And we have, he's a guy that does a multitude of things. And K'Lavon Chaisson will be one of those guys that can help Deion Jones on the outside when covering those type of running backs out of the backfield. Also, he will be a good pairing with Dante Fowler. I really think that him on one side and Dante Fowler on the other side could really wreak havoc against a lot of offenses and opposing offensive lines. And I really think that K'Lavon Chaisson's speed is second to none. That first step off the edge is very, very hard to stop a player that has that type of speed. And he's very good at changing speed to power. He can power rush, and he can also speed rush. He'll, if you look at his body frame, you would think that he's weaker than he really is. But when I went and watched some tape on this guy, he not only uses the speed rush, but he uses the bull rush. He's good with using his hands when getting after opposing offensive linemen. But I definitely think that if you pair him with Dante Fowler, we could really have a special pass rush. And then I also would like to take K'Lavon Chaisson as well, because I think that we could go in the second round and possibly take a defensive tackle. If you know, lately I have been watching a lot of tape on defensive tackles as well. And you know that I'm a huge fan of defensive line play and defensive tackle and having that beef in the middle and those big guys up front. But personally, what I would do if I were the Atlanta Falcons, I would take K'Lavon Chaisson with that number 1 draft pick. And then with the second round pick, I would go in and get Alabama's Raekwon Davis. He goes about 6'6", 310 pounds, very long arms, big hands. I think they measured his hands at like 10 inches or something like that. His hands are very, very big. So I definitely could see Raekwon Davis being there in the second round and being a steal. I've seen some different mock drafts, and I've seen Ross Blacklock as a possible pick, like that he's moving up the draft boards. And I really like Ross Blacklock a lot. And I also like Javon Kinlaw a lot. But I think for Ross Blacklock, I think 16 will be a little bit too high to take a Ross Blacklock. Personally, I think you can find a defensive tackle in the second round. Possibly a Ross Blacklock or possibly Raekwon Davis. And it's not that much drop off when it comes to talent. Now, for the pass rush and the defensive end position, I feel like after Chase Young and after K'Lavon Chaisson, I feel like there's a huge drop off when it comes to the edge rushers. And that's the reason that I kind of want us to go ahead and take K'Lavon Chaisson at that 16th pick, because I believe that K'Lavon Chaisson could possibly be a game-changing defensive end and a game-changing player for the Atlanta Falcons. I do think that his athleticism and his ability to play multiple positions, kind of like an Isaiah Simmons, is being overlooked. I'm not calling him Isaiah Simmons, but I do think that he's just as versatile as Isaiah Simmons. The only thing I don't think that K'Lavon Chaisson does as well as Isaiah Simmons is Isaiah Simmons used to play safety, and I don't think that K'Lavon Chaisson can play the defensive back position at all, whether it's playing at a safety position or playing the corner position. But other than that, he can do everything on the first and second level. So he can play that traditional linebacker position, or he can be that rangy guy coming off the edge and bringing pressure. If you wanted me to compare him to someone who plays in the game today, I would compare him to Josh Allen of the Jaguars last year, who played at Kentucky. Very long, lengthy. He also looks kind of like a Leonard Floyd that played at Georgia and played with the Chicago Bears. Very long, rangy, physical, has a lot of speed. And then if you wanted to compare him to a player of old that played in the NFL that's retired, I would compare him to a Jason Taylor, the longtime Miami Dolphins defensive end. I think he was about 6'6". K'Lavon Chaisson is about 6'3", 6'4". But both of those guys are built and look like basketball players, very long arms, very lengthy, and both had speed and had power. So I think K'Lavon Chaisson, like I said, could be a very special talent. Another reason that I would take K'Lavon Chaisson at 16 is I don't really believe in Takk McKinley. It looks like we're not going to pick up Takk McKinley's fifth-year option, and I possibly think that Takk McKinley could possibly be cut or let go at the end of next season, meaning we'll allow him to walk in free agency like we did with Vic Beasley. Believe it or not, a lot of people, hated on Vic Beasley when he was with the Falcons, and a lot of people said that Takk McKinley was the better player, or felt like Takk McKinley, did more with our Atlanta Falcons or more for our Atlanta Falcons. But personally, if we allow Vic Beasley to walk, I could really see us allowing Takk McKinley to walk next year, because Vic Beasley had way more production at that defensive end position than Takk McKinley has had over his career so far with our Atlanta Falcons. Takk McKinley has never cracked 10 sacks with our team. Last year, he only had 3.5 sacks in 14 games. And then I think the year before, he had 7 sacks. In his rookie year, I believe he had 6 sacks. So Takk McKinley, I think, is a little bit overrated so far in his career. I think that people overrated Takk McKinley and they underrated Vic Beasley and all that Vic Beasley did when he was with the Atlanta Falcons in that 2016 season when he led the league in sacks. So I definitely could see Dante Fowler and K'Lavon Chaisson being the defensive ends or the edge rushers of the future. And who they remind me of is the Indianapolis Colts. I really think that we could have our pairing of Robert Mathis and Dwight Freeney. I'm not calling neither Dante Fowler or K'Lavon Chaisson Dwight Freeney or Robert Mathis, but I do think that we could build a defense similar to theirs, where we had a 2 speed rushers or edge rushers, because I still think that the Atlanta Falcons are an offensive team. And I think that what we're going to do, or what we're going to have to do, and I stated this last year, is that we're going to have to put up a lot of points. We're going to have to get the lead in games and then allow our pass rush to get after teams. So what our goal should be as the Atlanta Falcons currently is the game plan should be for this Atlanta Falcons team this upcoming 2020 season is to get out to a lead and then make teams one-dimensional where they have to pass the football, and then allow K'Lavon Chaisson, Dante Fowler, Takk McKinley, and these guys, allow these guys to go get after the quarterback and, pressure the quarterback while you're playing with the lead. I really think that that's going to be huge for us playing with the lead. This past season, we didn't have a ton of games where we had a lead. Most of the games we were trailing pretty much in every single game this year. So I do expect that to turn around. But I am very high on K'Lavon Chaisson, and I do think that K'Lavon Chaisson is going to be a very good player for our team. Could definitely be a player that can get you 10 sacks a season, and he's definitely a player that you can move around as a chess piece and allow him to spy on quarterbacks, blitz off the edge, do a lot of different things, dropping the coverage on receivers and tight ends. And I definitely think that he'll be a player that will be good in the locker room, will be a great teammate, and he's a very confident guy. And that's something that I love about K'Lavon Chaisson. When he went to the combine and was doing his interviews, he looks like a very confident player. Very high energy. Somebody that loves his teammates and loves to go to work and become a professional. It recently came out that he said he wanted to lead the league in sacks and break the sack record, break Michael Strahan's record. So anytime you have a player, you definitely want a player that is shooting for the stars, a player that is setting high expectations for himself. And I definitely think that K'Lavon Chaisson could live up to the hype, and I definitely would take that chance on him. I definitely would bring him in. With our Atlanta Falcons, I definitely think he could do some special things. And then, like I said, in the second round, I would go after one of those defensive tackles, the best available at that point. But I wouldn't go defensive back, just because you always can find defensive backs, good defensive backs, later on in the draft, whether that's in the second round or third round, you definitely can always find a cornerback later on in the draft. I definitely wouldn't take a corner with that 16 pick. I would go ahead and take K'Lavon Chaisson. But you guys, let me know what you think in the comment section. I definitely suggest you go and watch some tape of K'Lavon Chaisson. I really think that you'll be impressed. But with that being said, this been your boy Jew. I'm definitely going to holler at you guys in the next video. You guys let me know if you want K'Lavon Chaisson, if you think we should go another way, go another route. Maybe we take, trade up for a Derek Brown, which I wouldn't be opposed to. Or maybe we'll bring in the Ross Blacklock at 16. Any of those guys being drafted, I wouldn't be upset. But personally, if I were the owner or I'm the GM of the Falcons, I would go ahead and take K'Lavon Chaisson. To me, he looks the par, and I think he, fits Dan Quinn's scheme of fast and physical perfectly. With that being said, this been your boy Jew, and I'll holler at you guys in the next video. All right, man. Peace.